Hey everybody, waitingfornextyear.com podcast. I'm your host, Craig Lindell, and today's guest is somebody who you probably kind of know in a roundabout way, because when I used to write about the Browns all the time, probably a good third to a half of my article ideas were spawned by conversations with this guy. He will just go by the name of Guggy. What's up, man?
It's good to be here with you, Craig. I noticed that your podcast voice is a little more professional than your lunch voice.
How many ideas do you think you've given me over the years, like where we have a conversation, you're like, dude, you ought to write that up. And then like I take my angle and I use kind of the premise that you give me and then I go write it.
Probably all of your takes.
All of them.
You have no original thoughts.
Well, and honestly, all of us are kind of like the summation of the conversations we have with our friends and our text messages and whatever else. So,
True that.
And you and I have a long history of sports lunches talking about, and the Browns are obviously one of the biggest topics just because they've been so god awful.
They are. We have a history started at the infamous Scalpers open mic, and back then, our conversations might have leaned a little political, which
all the way back to 2001,
right? which still takes up a small percentages of our weekly meetings. But yeah, Browns are at the forefront, and I'm a lifelong Browns fan. And no matter how painful that's been since 1999, I'm definitely trying to make it work still.
Yeah, I don't even know how much I'm trying to make it work anymore. The Browns are 0-4, and I've stopped living my Sundays around this team. I record every game, and I watch the morning after where they've got the, I don't know if you know about the NFL Rewind app, but they've got a condensed version. You can watch every snap of every game in about 25 to 30 minutes. But that's about all I'm willing to devote to these Browns right now. I'm just not scheduling my life around them anymore. And there's a lot of sadness in that for me.
It's extremely painful for me, too. I have managed to waste the first 4 Sundays of this year.
Meaning you've watched?
Yeah.
Or listened?
I've watched.
Okay.
Usually by the end of the year, I'm raking leaves with the radio on, doing something that's at least a little worthwhile. Can't tell you how excited I am. I will actually be attending the 5th game here against the Jets.
Well, and that was the topic of conversation at lunch, because I said, is it a sign of friendship if somebody invites you to a Browns game right now?
Do I have to answer that?
Well, you got asked by a friend and you agreed to go. So
right, it's a guy.
It's a sign of friendship saying you're willing to go.
It's my best friend, and I haven't seen him for 2 weeks. So there goes my Sunday. And the messed up thing is, this is from our lunches, but I set the bar pretty low this year. I wanted to know that we had a core of young NFL-worthy draft picks from the last 2-3 years who were making progress towards a brighter future.
And I noticed you didn't mention any win totals. So that's how low the bar was for you. You didn't even mention a number of wins. You were looking for visual evidence of rookies that were developing.
Right.
Or young players that are developing.
So, the Myles Garrett injury took a lot of wind out of probably not just my sails, but everybody, all Browns fans' sails right off the bat this year, because who didn't want to see that guy play?
Everybody.
Right. And
is that why you agreed to go to Game 5? Because he's finally back?
No, my arm was twisted. I really want to hang out with my friend, and hopefully this will be the last time I have to go see the Browns this year. For those of you who don't know, I used to put on an orange cape that said "Kill Some Mugs" with a Superman S on the back, a Bernie Kosar jersey, and in LA, I was known as Superdog, and I would basically run up and down the aisles of the LA Coliseum as we played the Raiders back then. And the Coliseum at that time was not a friendly place. Within a year of me behaving like that, Broncos fans were killed in the bathrooms of the Coliseum. So I'm not your average Brown fan.
Thank goodness the Browns weren't a division rival of the Raiders. Otherwise, you and I would not be having this conversation right now. You'd be dead in a bathroom.
I was actually on Inside the NFL flying down the aisle during a Browns 28-14 win. Webster Slaughter had a good game. Oh, I just used my podcast voice. That was pretty cool.
Oh, so where do we go? I guess it's an interesting spot for me because I'm really unhappy with the team, and I'm unhappy with where they are right now in the season, but I wasn't particularly shocked by the outcome of the Bengals game. I think people were kind of delusional heading into the Colts game. I think they were delusional again heading into the Bengals game without Jamie Collins, without Myles Garrett, to think that the Browns were going to compete. And yeah, they laid a bigger egg than I thought, but in order to be angry, you have to have some kind of an expectation. To have some kind of an expectation for these Browns, you've got to have kind of an unreasonable expectation, I think. So I guess I don't understand where all the anger comes from, and I don't get the sense that you're particularly angry, even if you are disappointed or expected slightly better.
Well, I've mellowed with age. Cleveland Browns fans are Charlie Brown trying to kick the football with Lucy right now. And, after falling on our butts as she lifts the football away from us, boy, this is a good analogy. For so many years, unlike Charlie Brown, I think Browns fans are starting to wise up a little bit.
It only took like 17 coaches and 2 owners. 3 owners.
Right. Now, the other thing that plays into this is, as Cleveland sports fans, we have a lot to be excited about right now.
Were you going to try and change the subject and make us talk about the Indians?
I don't want to talk about them, but just let's just say we're not in the desert of sports like we were 5 years ago. We are actually at the epicenter of the sports world in 2 major sports rights now. And that's not helping the Browns out whatsoever, but it's certainly helping us as fans.
Yeah, in a lot of scenarios, if it was any of the other teams, it would give the Browns cover. Like, the Browns can provide cover for the Indians. If the Browns were good, nobody would care if the Indians were bad. If the Indians are good, presumably you could kind of survive the Cavs not being good. None of those, so the Indians and the Cavaliers are really good and they provide perspective, but they don't provide cover for the Browns because it's still a football town.
If the Browns ever pull off what the Cavs or the Indians have been up to, what we see in terms of civic pride, of support for our teams, it truly could be just otherworldly, amazing. We saw it during the Kosar era. My biggest worry is the Browns have raised a generation of kids who don't care anymore. When I go to my nephew's house and he's got his Madden going, they argue over who gets to be the Steelers, which
it just hurts my soul.
Yeah, I'm kind of speechless even saying that.
But I got to admit, like, as a video game guy, it's really fun to throw to Antonio Brown. It's really fun to hand the ball to Le'Veon Bell.
You know, imagine this year you're going to throw that ball to Brown if you pick the Steelers, or you could toss it to Kenny Britt as a Browns fan. I don't care if you are the guy on YouTube teaching people how to play Madden and you have thumbs and fingers of lightning. I think they're going to rig the game against you if you're throwing to Kenny Britt. Call me crazy.
There's like a reality-based architecture to these games now, so they're not going to let you win with Kenny Britt. They're like, no, we get it.
If you have an 0-16 season, are they going to set the game up to where it is actually impossible for the Browns to win?
The world's greatest Madden player against my 7-year-old, not allowed to win with the Browns.
Now, that's laughable. Once again, I wasn't looking for wins this season. I want to see Danny Shelton just be a beast. I want to see Myles Garrett flash. I would like to see Jabrill Peppers on my TV screen during the formation. Now, you guys aren't going to want to listen to me anymore, but my family, my 2 uncles and my father all went to Michigan, and I went to Michigan not because it's a good school, but they took me to a football game, and it was so much fun. It's like, I got to go to this school. So I watched. Actually,
I don't think anybody on the listening at home would fault anybody for being a Michigan fan because they went there, because they had history there. There's like, if you're a bandwagon Notre Dame fan or a bandwagon Michigan fan, like, Anyway.
Yeah, I have some maize and blue blood inside
me.
The
rivalry is real, but it doesn't mean that you don't have at least a tiny bit of legit respect for people who went to the schools. Like, I didn't even go to Ohio State, so I've learned to know my place. I like to watch Ohio State, and I consider myself a fan, but I would never talk trash to a Michigan fan. I haven't earned that right.
Yeah, well, basically anybody in Ohio has earned that right. Harbaugh, do something, please.
All right, so Jabrill Peppers.
Jabrill Peppers. I watched him when he wasn't injured for his entire Michigan career, and was happy to see in the preseason he looked like he belongs in this league.
Looks like a real football player. Like, regardless if he is a strong safety, a free safety, or some kind of a hybrid linebacker, looks like a football player, period.
Well, he looks like something that the Browns sorely don't have, which is a playmaker. Most of these close games that we play, at the end, we lose because Antonio Brown
is a playmaker.
Right. Every team's got one of those guys. T.Y. Hilton.
Yep.
Okay. Who's that guy on the Browns?
Which guy keeps the opposing coaching staff up at night?
Which is the guy who, when the game's on the line, doesn't let his team lose. Wins it.
It's Kellen Winslow. We had Kellen Winslow. He was that kind of guy. The Browns have really not had one since, unless you count like Josh Cribbs, and his role was so limited because he was a special teamer who ran the Wildcat on occasion. But no, I think you make a good point.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't even give those guys that.
Kellen Winslow could have been that guy if he never tears up his knee.
Right. If he wasn't Evel Knievel.
Right.
But we don't have that guy. This draft, we might have actually drafted at least 3 of those guys.
Explain.
Well,
Peppers. Are you counting
Garrett?
Njoku?
No, I'm counting Kizer.
Okay, Kizer. I didn't know if we were going to Njoku.
No.
The tight end.
Although, it's funny because in preseason, everybody was like, this is the guy that's going to take a lot of time. And he's found his way into the end zone a couple times already. All those guys have flashed, but man, I'd like to see Peppers on the TV screen at the start of the play.
And I'd like to see him stop fair catching every punt.
I don't. And Rosie agrees with that.
Yeah, there is a dog here.
My dog is sitting in on this classic interview, classic podcast. Fair catch and a punt, there haven't been a ton of opportunities. These guys have definitely...
He did make a clear mistake last week against the Bengals. He fair caught one at the 5.
Right. He's a rookie. He's going to screw up a lot.
Of course.
But
I'd rather see him screw up being aggressive and trying to return stuff, but maybe that's just me.
No, I think punt returning is not rocket science. If nothing else, he has fair caught the ball in such a better fashion. Remember, was it last year or 2 years ago where we were just hoping the guy would catch the ball?
Well, are we going back to Travis Benjamin? Who are you thinking of?
No, there was a period there where we were dropping a lot and we couldn't find anybody, and we were just hoping to maintain possession during the punt. It was a year or two ago.
Did we ever let Justin Gilbert return punts? I don't remember.
No.
He returned kickoffs for a while, which was really funny.
He was too valuable at that cornerback position.
I can't even remember.
Does anybody...
who was the white defensive back that they had fair catching everything? Jim Leonard?
Yeah, it was something like that. So I'm just saying, spite of the fact that we're probably...
My memory for details stinks, by the way.
Yeah, we might be last in the league in punt returns right now, but it's a big improvement, guys, and you just have to look back a couple of years to know that.
Okay. And with this, we look ahead to the Jets. And again, I don't know where the Vegas line is. I know the Browns started off as like a 2-point or 1.5-point favorite this week, which is hysterical to me. How can you pick the Browns to be a favorite against a Jets team that has 2 wins? Maybe they're looking at Josh McCown's record in Cleveland Browns Stadium and saying, nope, he can't win there. We know that already.
There's a saying in the NFL, any given Sunday. I don't think it applies to the Browns.
Which is really sad. The league of parody, the league of cliches like any given Sunday.
Really? That just sums it up, and I think you should hit stop on your recorder at that moment, Craig.
I'm not. I wasn't ready, but I think you're right. So I think that's where we're going to leave it.
It's really nice talking to you and all the Waiting for Next Year podcast listeners.
Well, as I said at the jump, I've gotten so much material and so many topic ideas from our conversations. It's cool that you're finally on the podcast. You told me no before. So I'm happy you finally agreed to do it.
Yeah, I didn't swear or anything.
All right.
Can I shout out? Shout out Cindy and my mom.
All right. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. It's been the waitingfornextyear.com podcast.